Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Connie with the Painted Photographer. Welcome to my 12 days of thrifted Christmas. Each day I'm taking thrifted, forgotten items and giving them new life with a little creativity, a touch of old-fashioned charm, and of course, some holiday magic. If you love DIY, thrift shopping, and turning simple finds into beautiful Christmas items, you're in the right place. So let's jump in and create something together. I'll see you at the end.
Here we are once again, and I found this little snowman cup. I was looking for a snowman cup at the thrift store that had the features of the nose, the eyes, and the mouth so that I could see them as a solid color. I am going to take some DIY's Salvation Solution and coat this entire snowman cup. He's got a pot on his head, which I wasn't thrilled with, but it's going to work. And I just coated the entire thing with Salvation Solution, making sure that I got a nice even coat. And then what the Salvation Solution does is it prepares the surface for your paint. If you've ever painted a ceramic piece or a glass jar and the paint just flaked off or it scratched off, then your surface underneath was not ready for it to accept any paint. So what the Salvation Solution does is prepares your surface to accept paint. And right now I am all out of clear, so is the warehouse. It's been very, very popular. I do have white left in inventory, which in this case would have worked just fine. I'm going to use the Antique Ironstone and the Olive Sweet Pickens Milk Paint, two of my most favoriteest colors. And I use these little yogurt containers instead of purchasing new plastic containers to mix your milk paint in. These you can just throw away. I would have ate the yogurt and threw them away without using them for milk paint. And this actually just works as a nice recycled tip for anyone else who buys plastic containers to mix their milk paint. I use equal parts of milk paint and water. Normally, I do the water first and then the milk paint. For video purposes, I did it opposite this time just so I could mix both at the same time. And if I do have a little bit too much water, I mix a little bit more powder. And in this case, I knew I needed a little bit more paint. One thing you don't want is you don't want to run out of paint either. So mix up what you need because you do have to use this paint in a small amount of time and it will not keep. It keeps for a few days in the refrigerator being covered, but it won't keep for more than a week. So I mix up the Antique Ironstone and then I also mix up the Olive. I didn't switch my stick. I am okay with just a shade lighter and it won't even affect it whatsoever. Now I'm going to go in after these paints have sat for about 10 minutes. I'm going to go in and paint at the bottom of the snowman, all in Antique Ironstone, and then I am going to paint the pot that is on his head in the Olive.
Here we are, a cold December night, snowflakes fall, wonderful, magical, it's that time when everybody smiles, eyes are shining bright. I still remember how I used to feel. Look at us now, walking around in the snow. We do it in.
If I would not have given this Salvation Solution a try on here, that paint would have all just flaked right off. And in this case, it just did a crackle, a crazing effect. And well, that's what I wanted it to do. I did not want to see underneath the Sweet Pickins milk paint. So it is doing exactly as I wanted. I'm going to do the top of this pot in the olive, and then I'm going to come in and use the Sweet Pickins lantern, which is a black color, and go all the way around that rim of the pot and the handle.
Sleigh bells and Santa Claus, it's the number one most magical time of the year. Mistletoe hanging everywhere, waiting to declare that love is here in the air. We can stroll side by side all night. I'll hold your hand so tight and always remember the way that we feel. Look at us now, walking around in the snow. We do it in a very Christmas way. Soon there will be sleigh bells and Santa Claus. It's the number one most magical time of
I needed something on that pot to give it a little character, so it is turned upside down. I am using the crockery stamp from IOD. And here's a tip for you when using a round surface and a stamp. I put the stamp where I want it, and then I'm going to take a piece of painter's tape and I put the painter's tape over top of the stamp. I ink the stamp, and then when I go to stamp the product, then I can just use the tape to adhere to the sides so that it keeps it more steady and I don't have to hold it quite so well. So if you're stamping a round surface, this is a really good way to make sure that you get the stamp on there. Just tape it down and use that as an extra hand, if you will. After that has thoroughly dried, I used the Sweet Pickins dark oil wax, which is my absolute favorite to bring out all of that crazing that happened with the Sweet Pickins milk paint. I wanted to make sure that this was completely dry, the ink was dry, and I use the same container. I use the same brush when I'm using my oil wax. I just make sure that I clean them up with a clean rag, and then I can go back in the next time I want to use the dark oil wax, and everything is just, it's in good condition. So I go in and I put the dark oil wax onto the Snowman cup and I leave it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes to absorb some of that color.
around in the snow. We do it in a very Christmas way. Soon there will be sleigh bells and Santa Claus. It's the number one most magical. The number one most magical time of the year.
After the 15 minutes, I take another rag to hold onto the cup, and then I use another rag and I wipe everything off. I wipe it until I'm not getting any oil wax onto my rag. And then you want to make sure that it completely dries before you touch it. That is why I use a paper towel to touch it while I'm taking the dark oil wax off because you will leave fingerprints. So if I use a paper towel, I'm not leaving the fingerprints behind.
It's December again, I can't believe it. Whatever happened to the rest of the year? It went by so fast, I barely did see it. Now I'm calling all angels high.
This is a favorite project of mine. I love using milk paint on so many different projects. It has become one of my favorite paints. So if you would like to use milk paint, you can find them on my website at thepaintedphotographer.com. And antique olive and antique ironstone and olive are two of my favorite colors. If you would like, you can purchase this little snowman guy on my website also.
Help me find the Christmas spirit again. The Christmas spirit again. At one place and I
Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this project, let me know in the comments. I love hearing from each and every one of you. If you're enjoying these videos, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of the 12 days of Thrifted Christmas. If you need any of the products I used here today, you can find them at thepaintedphotographer.com and I'll ship them right to your front door. And until next time, happy painting.
I want that Christmas spirit again. I find myself wandering downtown, window shop.